Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to our event at the zoo and our adventure. Make sure if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And I'm going to hand it over to our zoo, and they're going to talk about leopards and other big cats with us today. So you guys, it's all yours.
Hi guys, my name's Tori and this is Bailey.
Hi.
So we work down here at the Cedric County Zoo, and we are actually down here at our Swanson Asian Big Cat Trek. This is brand new, so you might have seen behind me, we have a keeper who's actually working with one of our snow leopards. Her name is Yaja, and she is our female. She's walked off over here on our left. So we are going to be kind of quiet so we don't interrupt them. Because snow leopards are relatively skittish animals, and they are new to our zoo, so they are still getting used to everyone and everything going on.
Training with them is incredibly important because it allows us to take care of them better. With them being a large cat, similar to your house cat, they have claws and teeth that are very sharp. But since they are bigger, those are also bigger. So being able to give them good physical exams, as well as blood draws and different things like that, allows us to give them really good care without having to sedate them every single time they need a checkup. So by asking them to do different behaviors, we're able to better take care of them and make sure that they're living their fullest life here in human care.
So if we walk around at this brand new exhibit, we'll come into our rotunda where you can actually see into 3 of our different yards here. So at this brand new exhibit, we're really excited. It's about 17,000 square feet. And so over here, you'll see we actually have our male snow leopard. And this is Tashi, our male. Tashi is super awesome sleeping in that cave right there. You might also notice how we have some enrichment out for him in the form of a bone. So we give our big cats and other carnivores bones to help keep their teeth clean, as well as give them something a little different and fun to chew on. Each yard that we're looking in here, so this first yard is 3,500 square feet. This second yard over here is also 3,500 square feet. And in here today, we actually have Storm, our Amore leopard. I'm sorry, we do not. Oh, nobody is in that yard today. I am sorry, I was incorrect. The cats decided they didn't want to hang out in that yard, so we didn't make them because our animals have choice and control here. And that's what's really awesome about this exhibit. While we won't house our cats together, they will always be housed separately. All the cats can have access to every single yard. So the yard that you're looking at right now, it's not Yaja's yard. She may be in here just like she is today, or she might be in another yard when you guys come to visit if you get the chance.
So I don't know if you guys just saw her do those beautiful hops up onto those logs, but snow leopards are known for being excellent climbers as well as excellent jumpers. If you see her long tail, it's as long as her body is. Similar as when you're walking on a balance beam, how you would have your arms out to your side, holding them up to help you balance. That's what she uses her tail for. Because when she hunts on those rocky cliffs, that is her biggest strength, is using that for balance.
Something else she'll use that fluffy tail for in the winter where she lives, snow leopards are native to the very tallest peaks of the mountains of the world, also known as the third pole because they are so high and supply fresh water for 1/3 of the world's population, meaning Asia. All of Asia survives off these mountains' water. And so these guys live up there, and they will actually cuddle up with their tails on very, very cold nights. They'll cover their noses to keep them warm in those cold nights. You'll also notice they have a very specially designed nose. Snow leopards' noses are rather large, and that's because if you move air over a wide area, it warms up. So as that big cat of the snow leopard is breathing in during a hunt, it's getting warmer air, because I'm sure if any of you have ever tried to run in the winter, it may be hurt to breathe. It does the same for leopards, so they have this really cool way to heat up that air while they're hunting.
You can see that her beautiful, thick, fluffy coat that she has, and that does help her keep warm, but it can also help her keep cool. They're able to move their fur around to kind of get that airflow under their skin, so it can help her. But then she's also got that beautiful pattern, and that works as an excellent camouflage. So here on these logs, that is not what she would normally live in. So you can see her pretty well, But on the rocky cliffs where there's a bunch of dirt, loose rocks, and things like that, they are such excellent camouflagers that you can take a photo of her up there, and it could take you 20 minutes to re-find her in the photo later that same day. This allows them to lay in wait for their meal, which their main meal that they're going to hunt is going to be blue-horn sheep.
And what's really awesome about them is, so with the snow leopards, they live in those remote mountaintops like we had talked about. So really the only time they come into conflict with people is with domestic livestock. So sometimes a snow leopard will see a herd of sheep and think, wow, that's a pretty easy meal. And that can upset the hunter. But what conservationists have been doing in their native area is kind of connecting with cultural leaders as well as religious leaders who think that the snow leopard is special and should be protected in their area. And so those conservationists have connected those cultural leaders with other people in their communities. And we're finding that snow leopards who eat livestock are actually being relocated more than they are having revenge enacted on them. So that's a really awesome thing. We're starting to see that people will move a problem cat from one area to another.
Hannah, do we have any questions about the snow leopards?
Oh, lots and lots. They want to know, how many snow leopards do we have here at the zoo? How much do they weigh? And what are the age of the ones that we have? Those 3 questions are specific about the snow leopards coming up, and there are a few more after those.
So we have 2 snow leopards here. We have our male and our female. They each weigh about 150 to 200 pounds each. And what was that third question? I'm forgetting.
How old they are.
Oh, and how old they are. They are relatively young. I do believe one was 2016. Give me just 1 second. We're going to double check to make sure I give you guys the right years.
Perfect. The one that you're seeing right now is 9, and then her mate is 14 years old.
So how do you safely...
These guys are a little bit smaller, only about 100 pounds.
Gotcha. So they also want to know, how do you feed and train them safely so that you as the zookeepers aren't injured?
That is a great question. So you may have seen earlier with one of our keepers that she was trying to get the snow leopard to do training with her. We never go in with our cats ever. So we only ever interact with them through a barrier. So that's one way to keep us safe. And the second way is when we do actually give them their meat, we will hand it to them on a stick and they will grab it off of the stick. So we never have to worry about our hands being close to their mouths. So those are both ways that we make sure we stay safe with our animals.
So you can think about maybe if you guys have ever roasted a hot dog over a fire, how you'll slide that meat onto a stick. It's similar to that, except instead of a hot dog, they get a nice little steak.
So
we're going to head over to this next enclosure, which actually has one of the most endangered large cats in the world.
So in here, you'll see our boy. You'll see our boy, Lev. He is an Amore leopard, and he likes to hang out in his cave, so he's probably going to be all the way around on the other side. But we'll keep an eye out as we're looking for him.
You guys are getting a great preview, or I guess not a preview, because they opened 2 days ago to the general public. Area.
Sorry, go Bailey, my bad. If you also look on your left here, this patio actually used to be our old leopard exhibit. So there was an underground holding area that was off exhibit for our cats, as well as the on exhibit area where the tables are now. That totaled about 2,000 square feet. So with that new 17,000 that we have, we're really excited for the space. So as we keep walking, we're going to come around, and Lev, like we said, is an Amore leopard. That's what we had here at the zoo before. Emerald does still live here at the Cedric County Zoo. She's just off exhibit today, hanging out behind the scenes at Tigers, until we let these new cats kind of get used to this enclosure and their new space. So you'll see he's kind of cuddled up, laying down there in that cave.
So like I said a minute ago, these guys are the most endangered large cat in the world. And for those of you guys that don't know what that means, it means they're not doing too great out in the wild. And a big reason is habitat loss. As people go in and change where they live, they're unable to find food because that moves their food away. They're unable to survive in camouflage as well. And they're so endangered that if you guys hold up your 10 fingers for me, each one of your fingers represents 10 cats that we believe are still out there. There's 100 at most, from what the best numbers we've been able to get out in the wild. That is not very many. So we're really working hard to be able to conserve these guys here at Cedric County. We do have a pair that we intend to breed through a breeding recommendation. So hopefully they'll be able to have a successful litter that can go on to continue to build that population in human care, so we can continue to teach you guys how important conservation is for these guys. In fact, these guys actually recently were just established in an area that has been lovingly called Land of the Leopards. And that is along the Amore River, which is over kind of between China and Russia. And it's the river that they are most commonly native to. They set apart the parcel of land that helps protect that land and manage it to protect them from encroachment, so people coming in and changing the land, but it also helps keep their area safe.
What's also really awesome about Lev here, and Storm, our female, who's also not on exhibit. So we have 3 Amore leopards. Lev and Storm are only a year and a half old. They were born both in spring of 2020. So they're relatively young cats. So it'll be quite a while before we have any litters here, because we want to make sure they are fully matured and they get the time to grow up and become adults before they have their own kids. So it'll be a little while. Now we're going to take a walk down the rest of this path. It'll be, and while we're doing that, we can take some questions. So does anyone have any questions about those Amore leopards?
They do have a question about both. I don't know if you know the answer for both, but about how long do these type of cats live? Perhaps different in wild versus captivity, but what is their age span? Or life expectancy, I should say.
For life expectancy, do you know?
I want to say it's 15-ish years, but I'm not 100% on that. But they are going to live longer in human care because they get regular meals. We keep them nice and safe so they don't have to worry about predators or really bad weather. And we're able to give them medication. Let's say they break their arm. We're able to give them medication to help them be able to do that. Let's say they get an infection or a cut. We can provide them with that care that out in the wild could get infected and end up hurting them. So there's a bunch of things we can do to help extend their life and keep them healthy and strong.
Now, we don't have an exact for the difference between that for the snow leopards and Amore leopards, because there isn't quite a large enough population in captivity for us to give a definitive, this is the difference between their wild lifespan and their captive lifespan. We can say it is generally going to be longer in captivity than in the wild, though.
They're both also very elusive species, meaning they're extremely difficult to study because they're so good at hiding and keeping away from people. So it's also very difficult to study them if you can't find them.
So you guys might actually see on your screen now, we have a different animal. This here is a red panda. Now, red pandas are super awesome, and the one you're looking at is Ravi. That is our male. These guys are in danger. There's not very many of them left in the wild, and they do normally live alone. So you'll notice we do have 2 in here. They don't interact a lot because they like to be by themselves, but they also don't hate each other. Ravi is very much more friendly. He likes people. So if you see one of our red pandas out and walking around like this, it's probably Ravi. The other way you can tell that this is Ravi is if you look at his face, at his eyebrows, they are very, very distinct. You will notice 2 very prominent white eyebrows. However, Sunsari, our female, she kind of looks like an old dog who's getting gray. Her face is starting to get a little white muddly from being a little older. And she's a lot more shy, so she's usually the one hanging out in the tree. He's pacing. Yeah. He just likes to walk back and forth. Sometimes what that'll be doing is they'll be scenting while they're doing it. So they may have already urinated on their feet and as they're walking, but really he's just walking back and forth.
So these guys are a great spokesperson, or spokesanimal, I should say, for climate change, because these guys live out in the mountains in China. And so as the world has gotten a little bit warmer, it's gotten like less and less. So they were kind of towards the middle of the mountains, and as it started to heat up, those cooler areas where they really thrive got higher and higher. And what happens when they get to the top of the mountain? That means that they're just at that very tip of that peak, and when it gets too warm for them to survive there, that means that they're not going to be able to live there anymore. And there's not another place like that in the world. So doing simple things like turning off your electronics, like TVs and stuff, unplug them when you leave. Keep turning on your fan instead of turning down the AC, using reusable bottles and coffee mugs, and all those different things really helps these guys, because that it takes a lot for these guys to be able to survive up there.
And for us, since they are in such cold climate, sometimes it does get hot here in Kansas. So we actually have this really awesome pretend tree trunk. And inside is actually air conditioning for our red pandas. So in the summer, when it's really, really hot, there is always some nice AC for them to retreat into. So if they're getting too warm, they can cool themselves off. And we have, of course, lots of other shaded areas for them to hide away in. They'll also get ice treats in the summer, and that'll help keep them nice and cold as well.
That's all part of giving them choice and control over their environment. Just because they live with us doesn't mean we want to control them. We want them to choose how they live and how they feel comfortable.
So on our right here is a brand. If you guys have been to our tiger walk before and seen our Swanson tiger trek, you'll notice this is brand new, where we can actually go inside the exhibit with the tiger. So now we've expanded this area, so that way you can hang out with the tigers as they're hanging out in their exhibit. So you get a much more close-up and unique look into our exhibit. Right now we can't see any of our tigers. They're probably hiding around the corner. They're very good at camouflaging, and they love to lay in the bamboo.
I saw the male being active over in the other enclosure, so why don't we go take a little walk over there?
While you're walking, they're really interested because they know cheetahs are fast, comparable. How fast are some of these other animals that we've seen comparably?
Compared to a cheetah?
Yeah,
yes, cheetahs are incredibly fast. They can run 65 miles an hour for up to 2 miles, but they also have this really amazing adaptation of cleats. If any of you guys play football or soccer, you know cleats are the shoes that have the little tractions on the bottom. And for most cats, their claws will retract back up into their paw, but for cheetahs, they stay out to help give them a little bit more of a grip on the ground. So they have an added advantage. Do you know how fast a tiger can run?
They definitely are not going to be cheetah fast. If I had to take a guess, most animals run somewhere between 20 to 40 miles per hour on average. That's a pretty general guess. I don't know exactly. So it does look like Rom is out on this exhibit we're walking up to. Let's see if we can't find him.
He was over against this window a little bit.
Let's see. Now, what's really awesome about this exhibit, both the big cat exhibits, you can actually, we have training doors, so when the public comes in, we can open those doors and do training with the cats and here. And so now we're on the other side of red pandas and tigers, kind of looking for Grom. While we're doing that, I'll tell you kind of guys what the pandas eat here at the Cedric County Zoo. So our red pandas get what's called panda mash. So they take some leaf eater biscuits, they soak it in grape juice overnight because those are their least favorite things is the leaf eater biscuits, but the thing they need the most. It's kind of like us eating our veggies. So up there is Grom, right there, our big male. And then they also do get some bamboo as well as some other fruits and veggies. What's really awesome here is we have Amore Tigers. They used to be known as Siberian tigers, but they've had their name changed to represent the Amore River that you can find them along. These are the largest of the tiger species with the least amount of stripes.
So now we've seen 3 cats here today, and I want you guys to think really hard because 2 of these are the cousins. We had the snow leopards, the Amore leopards, and now the Amore tigers. 2 of them are more closely related than the others. You guys want to think about it as a class for just a couple of seconds and see if you can figure it out, and then I'll give you the answer.
So while they're thinking...
All right, are you guys ready for the answer?
Yes, they are ready.
Okay, the answer is the Amore tigers and the Amore leopards are more closely related. They are. Snow leopard. The snow leopard
Is more closely related to the tiger than other leopards.
The snow leopard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you'll see he walked up. What's also really cool about the tigers is if we were to shave that tiger all the way down to his skin, his stripes would still be there. So their stripes are completely unique to them as individuals, and they act as like a tiger's fingerprint. So just like our fingers, if you look down at your hands, you'll see some squiggly lines if you didn't already know about your fingerprints. And with those fingerprints, they are unique to every single person. It's the same thing with tigers and their stripes.
Did we have a couple of questions?
We do. They're interested in whichever, like, since we're on him, what do you talked about how you feed these big cats. What do you feed the cats? I know we talked a little bit about the soaking and the grape juice for what they need, but what other things do our friends, our big cats at the zoo eat?
So these big cats are carnivores, which means they only eat meat. So that could be anything from whole prey, which could be a pre-killed chicken or bunny rabbit, or even a piece of a larger animal. Or it could be ground meat or even steaks. All of that meat is prepared by the commissary and then given to our keeper staff, and they'll divvy it up. For their main diet that they get, the keepers will have them in their night enclosure, so kind of like how you go to your bedroom at night, but you have the whole house during the day. They'll be in their bedroom, the keepers will come out, they'll clean up all the poop, because that is a very big job as a keeper. They'll make sure everything else looks good, and then they'll actually hide the meat throughout their enclosure. And kind of like an Easter egg hunt, they have to go searching for their breakfast. That's because if you got your food in a bowl every day, that would be fine. But if you have to go out and looking for it, just how you guys probably like to go Easter egg hunting, it gets you active, it's more fun, and it's a better way to kind of get them energized in the mornings.
Two more things, and you might have mentioned this, and I apologize because I didn't hear either. How much does he weigh, and how old is our friend there?
Let me go double check his birth date. I want to say it was 2014, but let me double check. There's a card in here, and I don't have all of that stuck in my brain.
While she's going to double check, do you guys have another question?
Are tigers territorial in nature?
They are. They actually do similar marking to your house cat. If you've ever had an unneutered male house cat, they really like to spray their urine. In fact, if you look really closely in the back of his enclosure, you can kind of see stripes against those bamboo where he has sprayed. They'll also use scratch marks and their poop. So they're very polite. That they leave their poop all over their bedroom or their territory to say, this is mine, don't come in here.
And he was born in 2008, so, excuse me.
He's about 13 years old.
13. Some other people want to know, is he walking back and forth out of boredom at all? Or is it what you mentioned before about perhaps territory, or it's just something he likes, but they're just concerned that it doesn't have anything to do with boredom?
Yeah, so for tigers, it's going to be him pacing his territory. It's going to be him walking his outer boundaries to make sure there's no other tigers in his area, to make sure there's no other threats or anything like that. So that's why he's pacing. He might also do it if he sees someone who's interests him up here, maybe because we're up here with our video equipment and everything. He could be coming up, checking us out repetitively because it's something different than what he's used to seeing.
It's also a little bit of a cooler day today. And so since it's pretty rainy and now it's nice and cool, he's probably a little bit more active than he would be on a hot afternoon, because just how you guys will get really hot and tired, they do the same thing. So on these cooler days, they're a little bit more active, which it turns out great for you guys.
Another popular question is, how many types of big cats live at our Cedric County Zoo?
Sorry, we're counting. Give us just 1 second here. So we have tigers, we have Amore leopards, we have snow leopards, we have lions, and we have mountain lions, or cougars, or panthers. They're all known by the same name, or different names, but the same animal. I think maybe 5.
I think 5 is.
I think we have 5. We do have some small cat species. Now, the difference between a big cat and a small cat is actually 1, size, but 2, the ability to roar. So big cats can roar, small cats cannot. So if the cat can roar, it's a big cat. So I do believe out of that, for that, we only have 5 of those big cats, those cats that can roar.
We have a lot more carnivores, though. Those are going to be things like grizzly bears, or even our
Black bear.
black bears.
We have Mitch the black bear.
Yes.
And we have wolves on site as well.
Maned wolves, yeah. So we've got a ton of different species that kind of can qualify in just about any category you can give.
You mentioned earlier about the endangered species, and I know you briefly talked about what could we do just in our daily lives as we're students, perhaps in 3rd grade or perhaps in 8th grade. What is it that we can do in our daily lives to help the endangered species, if it's our tigers or if it's our other friends out there? I know you mentioned it briefly before, but it's been asking again.
Yeah, so for the Asian animals specifically, one big thing you guys can do that's kind of easy, kind of hard, is check your products for palm oil. So palm oil is an oil source that we put in pretty much everything. It's going to be in your dog food, your lotion, your shampoo, your gummy fruit rooms, all of it. It's going to have palm oil. And what you can do is there is an app that you can look to find sustainable palm oil. So pretty much all your major companies for candy now are sustainable with palm oil. So if you want a Kit Kat, that's sustainable palm oil.
Yeah.
You like Milky Ways? Sustainable palm oil.
My personal favorites are Snickers and Sour Patch Kids, and those are now sustainably sourced. So by advocating for companies to take those out of their products by either using alternate things like that, you end up promoting other companies to say, hey, they're not buying our stuff and this seems to be the reason, so I'm going to find more sustainably resourced items. So because of that, that has made a huge change, because not only does it endanger these guys, but also the lemurs on Madagascar and so many other species are affected by palm oil.
Another great question is, what keeps people safe? Like, these are extremely strong cats who can, some of them can jump. How do they stay in their enclosures to keep them safe and the people who visit the zoo safe?
So if you guys think about STEAM, the E in that STEAM is a very important job, the engineers. They're able to build these incredible enclosures that provide safety for us and them. This glass is extremely strong. We've got, although it looks nice and kind of like a woven fabric mesh, it's actually very strong wire. So through engineering, we're able to provide safe habitats for them, but also safe boundaries for us. If you guys look at that back fence back behind him being all cute in the water, you'll see that it's a very tall fence. These guys are not known for their jumping abilities, so therefore he doesn't need a roof on his enclosure. As where other cats, like our pandas, they did have a roof because they are excellent climbers and have the ability to climb out. So those engineers look at all the different facts about what the animal is able to do and what would be best for them, and so we're able to keep them safe. So you might be like, oh, a cat in water, what in the world is going on? So tigers are one of the few cat species that actually love water. You wouldn't find a snow leopard in water because, for one, they live where it's a little bit icy, but these guys live along rivers where it's going to be a lot wetter, and so it's a nice way to cool down and relax. Do we have a last question before we wrap up?
The last question I can think of is, you've answered how many different types, but they're interested to know, do you guys do any breeding of our big cats here at Cedric County Zoo to help with sustainability and the endangered populations?
Yeah, we absolutely do.
That is a great question. So we currently right now are not breeding our tigers. So we do not have a recommendation for Grom and Natasha, the female we have. However, this winter we are hopefully getting a female in who does have breeding recommendations with Grom. So hopefully in the next few years we can have some litters.
So when she says breeding recommendation, that means there is a complete panel of people that look at all of the genetics, so the material, the DNA that makes up every single individual, because just how we wouldn't want to have babies with our siblings, we don't want them to do that. We want to have a very diverse, a very different genetic pool. So if we bred the same ones over and over and over, there'd be a lot of the same babies, and they would all be cousins, and that wouldn't be very good for their species. So through those breeding recommendations, we'll look at all the ones here in the United States in human care, and they'll be like, oh, this one and this one have really great genetic histories, so their family trees go way back, and we think they would make really good, healthy babies. And so that is what we look at. So for example, the 2 tigers there, yeah, they make really cute babies, but we don't need more of their babies, more of their genetics here. So we don't want to breed them and be irresponsible.
And that's, as Bailey was saying, we already have enough of Natasha's genetics. We don't need any more. The reason we do that is so if we were to ever start needing to do reintroduction programs, we wouldn't have the same genetics, because basically when you have your mom and dad have the same immune system, you're going to get sick easier than if they had 2 different immune systems. So we want to make sure that if we ever have to reintroduce animals to the wild, they have the strongest and healthiest immune systems possible.
We want to thank you so much for sharing these beautiful animals with us. And if you guys notice, you said this new enclosure has just been open for 2 days. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you haven't been out to the zoo in the last 2 days, this is a brand new big cat enclosure that you can go experience, and it is now open for everyone. So if you experience it, you'll be able to do exactly the tour that we did today. And thank you again so much for sharing your cats with us today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We look forward to seeing your happy faces in person when you come visit us out here at Cedric County Zoo.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us for this little session. You guys have a wonderful day.
My friends Carrie and Kristen, hang on. I forgot to do this. Guys, they're going to keep this pose of the big cat in the water. Carrie, if you want to make sure it's as good, and you guys can do your selfie. We'll wait about 10 seconds, 10, 15 seconds, so you can catch a selfie before we dismiss, before I turn off the video. I'm so sorry. That's my fault for forgetting. So get those glasses in front of that screen, snap your picture. If you're at home, turn your face around and snap your computer picture with yourself and get that selfie. As he's just lounging.
Just a reminder, this is Grom, and he is 13 years old.
Grom. So get a picture with our friend Grom. Hopefully you got that. About 10 more seconds and I'll let you go. Of course, he walks off for the last few seconds. He's like, I'm out of here. No pictures for me. He does not like selfies, maybe. Thank you, guys. We'll see you at 3 o'clock if you come into another one. Bye, everyone.